Hello, dear friends from around the world. Welcome to a new tea class with me, Stéphane Erler. I'm your founder of the Tea Masters blog and the T-Masters.com tea boutique. I'm making these tea lessons so that you understand better the teas that you are drinking and that you can appreciate them better. Today we are doing our second lesson about the Oolong sampler I've created for this semester. It's Qingxin Oolong that is grown in Shaanxi, and to make it more interesting, I'm comparing it to the Jinxuan that we studied 2 weeks ago. And like this, I think it's you better understand what is the Qingxin when you put it side by side with the Jinxuan that comes from the same place, from the same harvest in the spring and with the same process. The major difference between these two teas is from the cultivar. So, what is the Qingxin Oolong cultivar? The Jinxuan, if you remember, was creation by the Taiwan Research and Extension Station. It even had a number. It was a crossbreeding. Not so for Qingxin Oolong. Dr. Wu Zhenduo, who created Jinxuan, is not the creator of Qingxin Oolong, but he has made a study, a genetic study of Qingxin Oolong, and from his study, we know now that Qingxin Oolong is very much related to Aijiao Oolong, which is a cultivar from Fujian province, very close to Hui, but not in the Hui area. And Aijiao means small foot oolong. It describes the shrub of this tea plant, rather small and growing rather close to rivers in damp regions. And so Qingxin Oolong is a natural transformation, mutation of this cultivar that was most likely brought by some immigrant from Fujian to Taiwan, and by being transplanted in Taiwan, it mutated somehow, adapted to the soil, to the climate of Taiwan, and became Qingxin Oolong. Also, Qingxin Oolong means green heart, and it is also known as Zhuanzhi Oolong. Zhuanzhi means soft stem. This describes the stem. As we will be able to see in a few moments once we brew this tea. What are the other characteristics of Qingxin Oolong? It has rather long leaves, as we will see, barely serrate edges, much less than Jinxuan. It is very resistant to frost. This is very important because thanks to this property, Qingxin Oolong is the cultivar that we find most often in high mountain areas, especially in very high mountain areas like Alishan or Daoling. So this frost resistance also comes from this soft stem. Being very soft and small, the stems don't accumulate too much water, so when it freezes, it does not hurt the plant so much as with plants that would be larger and more accumulating more water. It damages them when they freeze. What is another difference with Jinxuan? The yields are much smaller with Qingxin Oolong. It grows actually slower than Jinxuan, even though it's smaller, which means that this tea is also more concentrated by growing small and small. It is more concentrated, therefore the taste is also much fuller. This tea also has very nice finer flavors which make it very suitable to make lighter oxidized oolongs or even green tea. So we can use it in for baozhong. We can also use it for high mountain oolong, and even for roasted oolong in the Dongding area, for instance, and then in the summer for concubine oolong. So this is a very important cultivar that is used in many regions, in many different processes, many different styles. Actually, it's almost only in Oriental Beauty that we don't find it very often. Here in Oriental Beauty, we use Qingxin Dapang. Qingxin Dapang, because of the Dapang, it is different from the Qingxin Oolong, just like this. So we have now described the cultivar. What about the process? The process of this Qingxin Oolong. Let's have a look what it looks like. First, the dry leaves. When we compare them to our Jinxuan leaves from 2 weeks ago. Oh, actually they look very much alike. So in terms of process, this is almost the same process for both teas. It's the Oolong process. Oolong, you remember, it's the dark dragon, which means this is a tea that is partially oxidized and that can be roasted. In this case, it is not roasted. Jinxuan, Qingxin, you can see very, very similar shape for both teas, both coming from Alishan in the spring. And as we can guess, since they have very similar shape, it is also because they've undergone the very same process, very light oxidation, and drying, no roasting, and rolled. So the process for this tea is like Jinxuan and almost all high mountain oolongs, light oxidation and rolled. And this comes from Alishan and comes from, more particularly, from Jiangshuhu. Now, Jiangshuhu compared to Juefeng is maybe just 20 minutes drive by car from one village to the other. Juefeng is a smaller village than Jiangshuhu. Jiangshuhu maybe has 40 houses, mostly tea farmers, a couple of bamboo farmers also, bamboo being a vegetable in Taiwan that is very popular when it's season for bamboo. There is a little pension where tourists, guests can stay overnight. But apart that, there's not really many other businesses, because Jiangshuhu, even though it's in the Alishan region, it is outside of this road that goes from Jiayi to Alishan National Park. And since it's not on this main road where all the tourists are traveling when they want to go to Alishan National Park, which is one of the biggest tourist destinations in Taiwan. So since it's outside of this route, it's much more quiet. The roads are very little frequented. Very few cars are driving. This is maybe not so good for if you want to do tourism over there, but if you want to preserve the nature, if you want to have a very clean air, no pollution from the cars, no pollution from the tourists, then this is actually a plus. And also, maybe for the farmers, they have less visitors who come by to purchase the tea, so there are fewer tourists. But this means they even count more on people like me who will buy wholesale their tea, so that they can really focus on their skill of producing the tea and spend less time on selling it, because they can sell it just to shops directly or to wholesalers. So we are in Jiangsu at an elevation that is a little bit higher than Juifeng. We are 1,200 to 1,400 meters, I would say. And the difference between these two teas, the Jinxuan was harvested on March 28th, and the Qingxin here was harvested on April the 10th. This is another important characteristic and difference between these two teas is thanks to this slower growth of Qingxin Oolong, the farmers, it's easier for them to have two types of plantations, a Jinxuan and a Qingxin, and so they are able to work first on the Jinxuan in spring and then on Qingxin, and so that they don't focus all the time on the small time frame when Qingxin is maturing, and it's a longer time from the start when Jinxuan is maturing until Qingxin is also maturing. Okay, I think that's about it. Now we have we come to the way that I want to do the comparison. So cupping is one way. And so instead of using the traditional competition cups, I suggest we take two Gaiwan. We take away we don't even need the lid. We'll do it very casually again, but different from the first time that we brewed Jinxuan. So we preheat our Gaiwan. We can go roughly half to preheat it quite well. Half or a bit more. We can also use a porcelain spoon to preheat our cups. And okay, now we go a bit fast so that the cups don't become too cold. We only use one layer of leaves at the bottom, so I'm not using everything, almost, but okay, that's it. And so really just cover your bottom, but don't overdo it. That's already enough. And now pour with strength on the side and see how it dances. Can go very high. Okay. Now, while the tea is brewing and slowly expanding, this is also something that is interesting to watch. We can smell the dry leaves to get a first feel of the difference. Now we will also look at them again. I'm taking a bit more leaves to make it easier to smell. So maybe we can first look at the leaves. We see the Jinxuan might look a little bit more yellowish. The leaves seem also to be a little bit larger. In the Qingxin, I have some smaller leaves. The way to breathe in, to smell a tea, is you do it in two steps. First, a short smell, a short breath in. You exhale not on the leaves, you exhale on the side, and then a second, longer breath in. When you do this, what do you try to think what you feel. What's the difference? I get higher notes, fresher notes. Actually, the notes are very fresh on both teas. We can smell that it's similar smells of very green, very spring-like smells, but the Qingxin already feels a bit more powerful and maybe a bit more dramatic, more high-pitched. So we empty our cups. The teas have opened up very well thanks to our way of pouring them. We push the leaves up a bit. Smell the Jinxuan, very nice. We can also now pour some Jinxuan in the cup. Then rinse the spoon. Put the spoon in the Qingxin Oolong cup. Pour some out in our cup. Like this, we'll be able to see the difference between the two brews. Here, they look very, very similar. The leaves look a bit smaller, a bit darker green for the Qingxin. And the smell has a little bit of first a sweet note, caramel fudge note, and it is more intense but also more refined, very fresh. Now we start with the Jinxuan. Very pleasant, light, sweet taste. Nothing, it's clean, pure, does not cause much change in the mouth. Here directly a higher note, more broader, it feels deeper and still very, very light. Yeah, this is we don't see much oxidation on the edges of the leaves for the Qingxin. Maybe a little bit more on the Jinxuan, which is looks yet now a little bit more yellow. So I would say the oxidation level on this Qingxin is really very, very light. So if you like very light oxidation, and this is possible in early spring, this fits the weather pattern in the high mountain very well. So this is one very good example. You see, I already finished my cup of Qingxin, so enticing it is for Jinxuan. It feels a little bit more, more round, more maybe more sunny. The Qingxin, also from Alishan, feels a little bit cooler, I would say. Yeah, we can continue and put back some more tea to continue to compare, to enjoy the tea. So I think that the comparison lets you better understand the characteristic of each cultivar. Also the fact that the yields are so much higher with Jinxuan, making that the cost here is much lower. For 25 grams, this one costs 4.8, and here it's $8 per 25 grams for the Qingxin Oolong. So there should be you should also be able to realize there's a quality factor almost times two, big quality difference between these two teas. The tea from the Jinxuan from Alishan is already very nice, very smooth, sweet, bright and fresh, but the Qingxin from Jiangsu adds more depth, a cooler taste, and more aftertaste. So here you have, and when you brew it a little bit longer, these differences are even more apparent. If it becomes too strong for you, you may add some water to both teas. This time you can go slower. And marvel at the difference between just one factor, a different tea type, a different cultivar, going from Jinxuan to Qingxin. You may take now also a leaf and compare the leaves. You can see that on both teas the stems are a little bit torn. You can feel now that the Qingxin Oolong stem is softer than the Jinxuan. The leaves have a different shape also, rounder for the Jinxuan, a little bit more elongated for the Qingxin Oolong. The color is also a bit more yellow for the Jinxuan. So you can also touch the texture of the leaves. This now is a hands-on approach so that you can better make the difference between a Jinxuan and a Qingxin Oolong. So for this is where the theoretical part of the class stops, and where it's really, really interesting now to have the two teas side by side and being able to compare them, touch them, look at them, the serration of the edges. Can you see also some oxidation on the edge here on the Jinxuan much more than on the Qingxin Oolong. Et voilà. I hope that you liked this class, that you have brewed along, and that you find this comparison interesting. In 2 weeks, we'll do another comparison with another Qingxin Oolong from Jiangsu. And next week, we'll do our first class about tea pairing, health, and how tea can make your meals also more interesting and keep you healthy. I hope that you'll join me next week at the same time. Give me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed this lesson today. Follow me if you have not done so yet. And it's still time to get your sampler to continue this class. We'll continue so in 2 weeks with the next tea. Let me see now if you have any questions today about this class. Oh, I see a comment from Elizabeth. Now I have a better understanding of the price-quality relationship, but both are so affordable. Comparing the two would be a good part of tea pleasure. Yes, thank you very much. I'm glad that you got this most important part now between these two, and I'll continue to enjoy them. Thank you very much, Elizabeth. And yeah, have a good weekend, and I'll see you again next Sunday, same time. Have a great week and have a great tea. Bye bye.